please just let me get through this fight. Just let me get through this fight and I'll deal with everything else.
What up, everyone? Shakiel Mahjouri here for CBS Sports, and you know who this is. He is the number 5 ranked light heavyweight contender in the UFC, fighting Johnny Walker in the co-main event of UFC Charlotte on Saturday. Two sides of the same coin, one the heart of a lion, the other the heart of a putty cat. Anthony Lionheart Smith, how's it going, my man?
It's going well, man. Just knocking out some of this media, having a good time, man. I feel like I haven't done this in a while, so it's been fun.
Yes, sir. Well, you're on the other side of it now, more
Yeah.
often than not. So it's fun to see you back here. Before we get to the fight at hand, the light heavyweight division, all the stuff that we're used to talking about, I want to know. We know that nothing really scares Anthony Smith inside the cage, but what is one thing that creeps you out that people might be surprised to learn?
I don't know if it's super surprising. I don't mess with snakes at all. Snakes and spiders and I'm a country boy. Grew up majority of my time on a farm. I own cattle. I do all the redneck shit, but I do not mess with snakes and spiders
So
at
is
all.
this, what about a controlled environment? Like you got like a
No,
spider? No, not
no,
happening?
no. My
Not gonna hold
brother-in-law
them?
has like 5 tarantulas, and he's convinced my kids that they need tarantulas. And it's like a pretty big point of contention in my house because I'm not getting no damn spiders in my house. It's not happening.
Dang, that's sick. That's
And I
twisted.
have nightmares a lot about cave diving. Have you ever heard Donald Cerrone tell that cave diving story where like I think he got like lost in a cave or
Mhm.
someone else got lost in it? That's like nightmare fuel for
Oh
me.
yeah.
There's no way.
Now put some spiders and some snakes in the cave, and
No way,
done
dude.
deal.
I can't do it.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the task at hand. Now, I'm sure this has come up a million times. Everyone is trying to solve the mystery of what happened, where Anthony Smith versus Johnny Walker got switched from main to co-main, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. I'm not going to bother you with that, but I am curious. I feel like there's been a general fan sentiment that they wanted this Smith Walker fight as the main event. How does it feel for you to see that sort of love for having you guys in the main event spot?
Well, to even the answer to the initial question that I keep getting, I don't have the answer. I don't know. I don't know, and I
That's
didn't
why I didn't
ask.
ask.
Yeah, I don't, and I don't really care either way. Like it's the same check for 2 less rounds. Um, and honestly, I got really everything I needed out of it. Like the fan sentiment is that that's what they wanted, and that was enough for me. That made me feel good. That like people care. People still care about my journey. People still enjoy watching me fight. There's still matchups out there that are exciting with me involved in them for those for fans. So it made me feel really good. That like people almost felt like they had to come and defend me. They don't have to do that. I'm a very fortunate individual. I have an incredible job. The UFC is very good to me. And that's not just me being the shill and the homer. That they are very very good to me. So although it was unneeded, I really appreciated it. I really did. It meant a
Very
lot to me.
You know, one of the most very quickly carving yourself out as a go-to analyst in the fight game. So let's turn the lens inward a little bit. When you examine this Walker fight, what's the biggest strength you possess? On the flip side, what's the biggest strength he possesses? And this way, no one can write a headline saying Anthony Smith trashes Johnny
Right.
Walker's X, Y, or Z.
That's crazy, right? Um, as far as me, I think that I have a significant advantage on the ground. I don't think that that's anything that's it's probably not controversial. Um, my fight IQ and my experience, I think, are going to be a pretty big advantage over most people in the division. Um, and just my ability to be well rounded and really just fight the fight wherever it happens. I think is a very freeing thing for me where I don't have to necessarily always fight in one place or the other. I can pretty much do it wherever you need me to. On the flip side, I'm sure Johnny does have a ground game, but I'm sure that's not where he probably wants to spend the majority of the next 3 rounds of his life. Uh, he's incredibly explosive. He's incredibly athletic. He moves really well for his size. He's fast. He can shut you off with any of his weapons. It's hands, elbows, knees, feet. He switches stances well. I don't want to say he's unpredictable because his unpredictability has become a little bit predictable at this point, but he's very creative. He's able to physically do things that guys at 205 really can, especially guys his size. Um, and he's a little bit fearless. He even with the history of him being caught uh, at times has not deterred him from continuing to step into the fire, which makes him very dangerous.
You heard it here first, guys. Anthony Smith says Bozo Johnny Walker has no fight IQ.
Someone's gonna say that. I promise you. I promise you.
You know, I was sort of shout out to James Lynch. I know he did a long form interview with him, and he asked you basically like, why are we not bringing up the Johnny Walker name as much? And I think you very eloquently sort of explained how in the past, like the Ryan Spann fight, for example, you got pretty heated by all the sort of trash talk that went into it ahead of time, and that you're not really looking for a reason to have beef with people. And I love that mindset, but sort of in the vein of that, I do want to show you a video and just kind of get you to give me your breakdown of what's going on with Anthony Smith here, because I know this is one that a lot of fans, at least, really sort of have taken a liking to.
I knew it. I knew it. Yeah. Yeah, that's a younger me for sure.
Yeah, walk me through. Like, how does Anthony Smith, the younger Anthony Smith, get to this point mentally, and why is it that it sort of comes out that way in a fight?
Oh man, I'm such a nice guy. I really am. I'm not a bad guy.
I can
At
speak to it
times,
from my experiences.
at times, I do show my ass sometimes, though, because I think I focus so hard. Like even right now, like, all right, I'm not getting into this. I'm not doing this. I'm gonna be the better person. And then something happens and it all comes out. So then someone else ends up getting that. You know what I mean? Hector in that lead up to that fight had said a lot of really. There's kind of there's a theme here. You can say that I'm ugly and that I suck at fighting, and that, like, none of that stuff bothers me. When people completely discredit me or the things that I've accomplished because I've sacrificed so much to be where I am and continue to this day, that's what really bothers me. So Hector was saying things like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, he hasn't done anything. Like, well, why is he even here? My wife doesn't even know who he is. Like, what's his name? I don't even know his name. Like, as if I wasn't even a real person. And that really bothered me. So it took me a while, but I finally eventually got his attention. And that's when I was like, do you know my name now? Like, well, have you figured it out up to this point?
He might have figured it out.
But that's the same thing with the Ryan Spann thing. It wasn't, I didn't care that Ryan said he was going to beat me or that he was going to whoop my ass or that he was going to do this, or this to me. It was when he discredited, I don't care how many bonuses he's had. I don't care who he fought. I don't care who he beat. I don't care that he fought for the title. Like, don't discredit the things that I sacrificed and worked so hard for. I want your respect. That's all I want. Everything else I could care less about.
I think it might have been Jorge Masvidal had a similar sort of experience with Donald Cerrone, and that was very fueling for him. Before we finish up on some rapid fire, some light stuff, give you a little bit of a break from the fight game. One of the best interviews, or the interviews I enjoyed the most that I conducted last year, was with you at Radio Row for International Fight Week, and
I remember
it turned into this whole feature about how you've really put in the time over these recent years to sort of be honest with yourself and unpack things. And the example you used was the cup that you filled all your problems with.
I talked about the cup a lot today.
Yeah, from John Jones to Glover Teixeira, and then once
you're the first person I ever talked to about the cup with.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. As someone who is a big proponent for the therapy he uses himself, it meant a lot to have that conversation with you. You talked in the lead up to this fight about how part of your efforts to sort of stay away from speaking ill of your opponent is stuff that you've been working on with your therapist and the people around you. Overall, as a theme, what's the biggest takeaway you've had about this work that you've been putting behind the scenes, and what's been the biggest positive impact it's had on your life, professionally and privately?
I think I just figured it out, to be honest with you, because I wasn't sure. I was kind of just I go in seasons, so my season is exactly the same though. I'm doing really good, and I'm with my therapist, and things are going really well. And then I'm like, all right, instead of doing twice a week, I'll go to once a week. And then be like, oh, once every 2 weeks. And then like bad things start happening, or like the world falls down on my head. At least that's how it feels. And then I already haven't been doing the maintenance work, and now it's like, oh, I'll deal with it later. So like my example is, before I started my last training camp, my mom passed away. My mom was my best friend. So then as soon as she passed away, I buried my mom. 3 years before that, on Father's Day, I buried my dad and never dealt with that. So then my mom passes fairly unexpectedly. Bury my mom, struggling, like wheels are on the way off. And then I jump into training camp. I'm like, oh, I'll just deal with it later. I'll just deal with it later. That's the next evolution in my season. I'll deal with it later. So that goes in the cup. Then I just check everything. Anything that came my way through training camp, didn't matter what it was, went in the cup. I'm not dealing with it. Then I fight, thinking I'll just let me please just let me get through this fight. Just let me get through this fight, and I'll deal with everything else. And just like everything in my life, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
So then the fight happens, and I have the leg and ankle injury, and then I have surgery, and then I get the blood clot. And like even after surgery, I'm like, I'll deal with it after surgery. Then I'll have some time. I'll just sit and deal with it. Well, then I have the surgery. Then I get the blood clot. Then I'm working the desk. I'm flying all over the place. And like I never deal with it until I don't have a choice. Until I don't have a choice when my life is falling apart, the wheels are completely off, and I'm hanging out the window. So then I go through and I fix it. And it always in my head is like, someday I'm going to be able to do this, and then I'm not going to be like this anymore. And what I've learned is I'm always going to be like this, and that's okay. I just need to figure out how to manage it so that these swings aren't so big, where it's everything's really good, and then 4 months later everything's the worst possible scenario it could be, and then I'm really good. It's just like these just elevated peaks and these really low lows. So now I'm just figuring out that like I'm never going to get out of these seasons. I just need to figure out how to manage it better. And I keep saying like this word manage, and it's really I just need to address it. So nowadays, the things that go in the cup, there's not that many things that go in there, because it used to be everything went in there. So after my mom passed, I went into training camp. It didn't matter if I needed gas. Like I'm not dealing with that shit. That's going in the cup. I don't have time to deal with needing gas. Like it didn't matter what it was. So now it's the smaller things. I'm able to just stop for a second, address it, figure this out. Is this a big deal? Is this not a big deal? Where do I put this? Like, is this the thing that I can just throw away and I don't actually have to deal with? Because there are those things in life where like, there's nothing we can do about that. Let's just let that go and we'll just move on. And some things you got to manage and deal with. So I think that's what I've learned, is that I am getting better at like, there's less things that have to go in the cup. And when the big shit goes in there, we got to get it right back out right away. And I think that's something I said that to, I don't know, I said that a couple weeks ago, and I feel like I got like a really good response that like, it's okay to just know that I'm always going to be like this.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, dude,
just how it is. I'm always going to be like this. Like I'm never going to fix it. There's no fix. Like you don't go to therapy and fix it and then it never comes up again. Like this is just who I am. It's just how I am. And my kids love me, and they love me even when I'm having a bad day. And my wife loves me even though she knows I'm fucking crazy sometimes. Like it's just, I got people around me that know me and they accept me for me. And it's not always easy, but this is who I am, and I can't change it.
Bro, I had talked to my family doctor about looking into whether or not I have ADHD. He says fill out the survey and then we can start the process from there. I fill it out, I send it back, I never hear. So I need to book a follow-up appointment, see what's up. That was like a year ago. I finally booked the appointment like 2 weeks ago. Fell through for whatever reason. As soon as this interview ends, I'm gonna give him a ring and schedule another appointment.
So my wife has really bad ADD. It is the funnest, most frustrating thing in the world. Like it's amazing because it's so funny. Like just how quickly, but she gets over things pretty fast because she forgets about it because she moved on to something else. So yeah, we're definitely dealing with that stuff in our household for sure.
Yeah, it was about a week ago. My fiance looks at me. She's like, "Yeah, so what do you think about this problem I'm having?" And I go, "That was a really good cheeseburger." And I'm just totally...
You're just so much. She'll have half conversations in her head, and then the rest of it out loud to me. And I was like,
"Yep,
I don't know. Sounds good to me." And she just moves on.
Yeah, well, shout out to your wife. Looks like I should interview her next time. All right, Anthony. Thank you for your candor. It's always a learning lesson talking to you. I appreciate that. Before I let you go, because I know we're already running over time.
Oh, you're good. You're my last one today.
Appreciate it. All right, what I've set up for you is a rapid fire thing. It's something I always do in some permutation or another. But these are all nice things. We're trying to stay away from the nasty headlines, so these are only going to be positive things. Okay.
I love it.
All right. First one. Give me a compliment from you towards Johnny Walker.
I I think that the fact that he's disciplined enough to make 205, I think says a lot about his work ethic. Um, I don't think he gets enough. I've never people talk about his athleticism and his explosiveness and his power and I don't think he gets enough credit for his work ethic. And there's no way I've seen him in between fights. That man is every bit of 240 or 245 pounds. The amount of work that it probably takes that he probably has to put in and day out to get to 205 alone, I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. And just a little caveat there. I think he has one of the best teams in the world. I got a lot of respect for John Kavanaugh.
Okay. Wow, I didn't expect that good of an answer, but here you are playing ball. Which UFC fighter would be most reliable in a zombie apocalypse?
Most reliable in a zombie apocalypse.
Let's say Kuzmir Palhares bites someone in the cage and everything just goes downhill from there. Sorry, yours. I didn't say I was going to be nice.
Who would be like if there's a bunch of zombies? Like who am I counting on?
Yeah, it can be a friend as long as they're in the MMA sphere.
Oh, dude, I'm going Donald Cerrone.
Oh, well equipped for that situation.
Well equipped. Sure. Well equipped. So
stay on his good
side. I think Cerrone and me together would be the most equipped duo to deal with the zombie apocalypse for sure.
Love it. Do you think you can outrun him? That's the one thing about having someone lighter than you.
I don't think so, and that's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Just bring a heavyweight along.
He's got lots of livestock though to slow him down. We'll use some of his cows.
Good call. Oh yeah, the food. There's a whole that's a safe haven. All right. What do you love most about Morning Kombat co-host Brian Campbell?
What do I love most? I love that as much trash as he does tend to talk, he has no problem fessing up to it in person. Well, we were at an award show one time, and I always knew it was very jokingly, but it was also like he was definitely trash talking, and he came up to me to make sure that like, hey, I don't want you to think that I'm saying this stuff behind a camera and that I won't talk to you about it in person. And it honestly, I like Brian Campbell a lot. Now it's just a big fun poke at him, but he had no problem. Like he had no idea whether I was going to punch him in the face or not. He had no problem coming up to me and being a man about it.
I love to hear that. Shout out to Brian Campbell and Luke.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All the co-hosts in the podcasting game. All right, just two more. This interview is very blank.
Refreshing.
That's what I strive for, my man. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Last one. We talk about fights so much. Honestly, I get tired of it myself, too. So, last one. All about the self-love here. No one does what better than Anthony Lionheart Smith?
I don't think anyone comes back from terrible things happening to them better than me. I'll always come back. I may not always be the best performer. I may not always be the best. I've never claimed to be the best fighter in the world. But I will figure it out and come back better than anybody.
No better sentiment to end on. Anthony Lionheart Smith, I want to leave you with the last word. I'll do my part very quickly. Guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you're still here, please subscribe, tap the notification bell, thumbs up. Give us your official prediction for Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Johnny Walker. That is the co-main event of UFC Charlotte on Saturday. Shout out to CBS Sports, as always, for empowering this video. The crew over at Morning Kombat for helping out as well. Anthony, if there's anything you want to let the people know, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, well, first of all, you got to get the business done. I come over and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Lionheart A. Smith. And I just appreciate all the fans. I appreciate everyone for sticking by me all these years. Tune in Saturday night. I promise you it won't be a wasted 15 minutes of your time.